Well, hello, welcome back to A Tale of Three Cabins. Well, I'm in my no-frills pole barn over here. No roof, no walls. And I'm going to give you an update on that at the end of this video, and it's kind of disturbing, at least to me. But today I wanted to talk about my tractor has 200 hours. I just passed it a little while ago when I was plowing snow. We always buy products, and when they're brand new, they're always working out good for us. They're new, they're out of the package, or a new car. Periodically, as you go through time, whether it's 50 hours, 100 hours, 150 hours, you might find changes. Your engine might blow. You might have seals that go bad in certain areas. So I just wanted to cover the 200 hour mark, how everything's been going so far with me with the tractor. So why don't you stick around and check it out. Maintenance. Prior to 2018, if you bought a tractor in the manual, it stated that at the 50 hour mark it wanted you to change all the fluids, the hydraulic fluid, the oil, all the filters. They want you to do your grease fittings at about the 10 to 12 hour marks. And when I purchased this in the manual, it said that you needed to do all that at the 200 hour mark. And I was always a little confused because I didn't know what the difference was between the 17 and the 18 model. Because when you looked at them, it was really just the ROPS was, instead of straight up, they were curved forward. But I did maintenance on this at the 100 hour mark. I changed all the filters, I changed the oil, I changed the hydraulic fluid, and I continually grease these, more so when I know that I'm using the loader a lot, and if I'm not using the backhoe for anything for a long time, I kind of ignore greasing that after 10 or 12 hours, unless I dig out a stump and then afterwards it's all greasing. So maintenance wise, this didn't go too bad. I did a video on that, changing the oil, how to change that filter in the back for the hydraulic fluid without having to take the tire off. And this is a 2018 1025R. And I believe not much change in 19 and not much changed in 20. And maybe 20 and 21 have a little emblem that is embroidered on the seat. Other than that, I don't know any other serious changes that have come to this tractor. And that's one thing I've always been curious about, is just how often do they make a major change? And it doesn't seem like it's too often. If you span back to when this thing came out, the 1025 replaced the 1026R, it seemed like there was just a little less horsepower, and maybe that was due because of emissions, but it looked like the same tractor mostly, and there were just subtle changes throughout the years. And maybe it's like your iPhone or your Samsung phone, that there's subtle changes every year, and if you look at a phone that is 8 years old, there's a remarkable difference compared to the phone that you have now. But there's not a remarkable difference in this tractor compared to 10 years ago. Some features have been changed on the backhoe that make it a little bit easier to use. It has a locking mechanism to keep your outriggers locked in place so they don't bleed down when you have it in your shed or your garage overnight. Also has some locking rods to keep your backhoe from bleeding down. But other than that, there haven't been a heck of a lot of changes. So now that I'm at 200 hours, I'm just going to change the air filter and look everything over really good, and that's probably going to be it. And I'm going to wait till I'm at the 300 hour mark before I change all my fluids and filters again. So with the 200 hour mark, what kind of issues have I had since I purchased the tractor? When I had it delivered, I really couldn't find anything wrong with it. Sometimes people get deliveries and there's loose bolts, or something's got a minor leak, or a hydraulic line has got a leak. I didn't experience any of those types of issues when I got my tractor. I would say at about the 40 or 50 hour mark, I was looking on the ground and I would see little drips leading to and where I was going to. And that was just the fitting for the steering on the hydraulic line that just needed to be snugged up a little bit. That was my first issue I had. I would say the next issue was just minor loosening of bolts. And I would go around and check, and I see a lot online about the front end loader bolts. You should check those all the time, and I would check those, and those wouldn't be any issues. One recent issue is with the backhoe itself on the controls. One of them got really loose, and another little pet peeve of mine with the backhoe is the little rubber boots that conceal the controls underneath the control box, and you have your sticks and your joysticks sticking up. Those always pop off. Those rubber boots always pop off for me. I'm always putting them back on. And I do get mice that make nests in that control box from time to time. But I had a little Allen screw that got loose on the right control stick, and that definitely started to notice as I was operating it, and I wasn't exactly sure what the issue was at first. but then I took the control box apart, the housing, got in there with an Allen screw, snugged it all up, and it's as good as new. Now we're talking 200 hours here, and I know some people have tractors and they probably have a thousand or a couple thousand hours on their tractors, but at the 200 hour mark, this is holding up well. I really don't have any serious complaints about it. I did do a video on my top 5 likes and dislikes, so you can go back and check out what those are. There's still pet peeves of mine. I still whack my head on those ROPS from time to time. As it's holding up, I can't complain. Nothing's worn out. The battery's still in good condition. The loader function, it doesn't seem like I've lost any power, any leaks. Everything is holding up fine, and it still seems like the day I got it. Now, one thing I must say at the 200 hour mark is I did not expect how much use I was going to get out of this tractor. I thought I was going to maintain my driveway a little bit, use the box blade, straighten it up from time to time, dig out a stump here and there, and plow snow with it. But I've done so many things, and I put this thing to the test, and I've really gave it some trials on what this thing is capable of doing, and it's always succeeded and come through for me. I really can't complain. I've always talked about maybe getting a bigger tractor now and then, and I still look at them. Now is not the time to buy. It doesn't seem like the market is a good time to buy a tractor. It seems like there's a shortage on parts and materials, and I'd kind of like to see if there's going to be more improvements made to the models as I'm looking at them. Now I'll give you an example why I take so long to buy something and want to upgrade it. We were looking to get a new car for my wife, a Ford Escape, and the 2021s were supposed to come out with their electronics package, the Sync 4. Currently the Fords have Sync 3 in there. Sync 3 came out in 2016. Sync 4 did not come out in the 2021s, and it still has Sync 3. To me, that's a 5-year-old technology that if I buy a new car now with Sync 3 in it, and Sync 4 comes out the following year, and Sync 3 is in it, it's already 5 years old technology. And if I hang on to a car for 5 to 10 years, it's worth waiting for that Sync 4 to come out, because that'll be out for another 5 years itself. Tractors, though, do make it a little difficult because they don't change widely or greatly between models. You buy this tractor, and it might be the least expensive part of your journey when you have a tractor. I've got a snow blade, I've got a box blade, I've got a brush hog, I got a tiller, which I have on here right now because it's the tilling season. I got a carryall, I've got a subsoiler, I've got a brush crusher, which is similar to a grapple, I've got a post hole digger, and I've got a rake. Now that's quite a lot of implements in just a couple years, but they all have their purpose and they all serve me well, and they're all expensive. Another thing is what implements might I be looking at in the future? I'm looking at a sprayer. I'm debating about getting a 3-point sprayer. I think the tanks are too large for me. They're overkill. I might look into just getting a little bit smaller sprayer, an ATV type sprayer that I could just mount on the back of my carryall that I have, and spray weeds with that and carry it around and spray our apple trees. The next thing I would really be, I think I would be in need of is I'm starting to try to take care of my lawn a little better. I never used to weed and feed it. So I might want to do more yard maintenance. So I might be looking at an aerator, some type of aerator, a dethatcher, something to dethatch. So if you're watching this and you're thinking about taking a plunge and getting a tractor, one thing I would recommend is getting the insurance that John Deere provides, especially if you're going to use the 0% financing, because that insurance will last the life of the financing, and if you got the 0%, there's no sense in paying it off early. So where has the tractor failed me? It's really only failed me on two subjects. One is the loader strength. I mean, you could always use more loader strength, but there's certain things that I tried to lift that it just wasn't going to do it. Some of it was with the forks, some of it was with the front end loader. And you got to expect a 1 Series tractor is not going to be some mega lifting machine. And the other is getting stuck. I've got this tractor stuck more times than I want to remember. And it might have something to do with the smaller tires and maybe a little bit lower clearance. So those are probably my two issues where it's failed me in the 200 hours that I've been using this. Other than that, like I said, you really can't complain about this machine. It is a little bull, it's a little workhorse. It has done a lot more than I ever expected it to do. I always try to incorporate it in so many different projects. And it's always nice to go out and help folks with different projects. You know, we go to my daughter's house and help her out. There's always a friend now and then in need of whether it's lifting poles out for their fence or drilling post holes or you know, digging a trench. So it's a nice little machine. I'm glad I bought it. I've said this before, but I wish I would have got one 20 years ago. This probably would have been my third or fourth tractor by then, because I probably would have upgraded a few times, or at least got something a little bit more newer and modern. I've really enjoyed having this thing for 200 hours so far. I'm looking forward to this year and bringing up the pole barn. If you've been following me with the pole barn project, at least the future pole barn project, I'm hoping, I've had to get a variance because the pole barn is going to go in front of my house. But even though we're 800 feet off the road, they still had an issue with building something in front of my house. And I did get that variance. When I applied for the variance, though, something came up during the meeting, and it was that shed back there. And when I built that shed, this was all pretty thick woods around here. I had a garden right next to it, and I built it basically as a garden shed to house the lawnmower and log splitter and pressure washer and other yard gardening tools. They brought it up because of tax purposes, because they said I was paying for a one-car garage when this is basically a garden shed and you couldn't fit a car in there. So we fast forward about a month. I look like I have the go-ahead. I get my approval letter, and I go to get my building permit from the county now, and they're asking for my variance permission. So I send them a copy of the letter, and they said, no, you got to have the seal. Just call the township and they'll send you one with the seal on it, and then you're good to go. So I called the township and they said, hey, we sent you a letter, and it came back, returned to sender. Well, they sent it to the wrong address, wrong zip code, and on it had a problem with this shed. And they said they're not going to give me my certificate for the pole barn until I get a variance now for this shed. So that's another $500. And another month's wait to get a meeting, and more paperwork, and no guarantees. So they mentioned wanting to tear it down. They said it has a porch coming off the side, which I guess is this overhang, and it can't be over 10 feet long, which I don't believe it is, because I used 10-foot boards for the joists. So I don't know where that's going to end up. I'm not going to have my meeting till sometime in June now. And believe me, this is upsetting me way more than it might be upsetting some of you people out there that have been looking forward to me building this pole barn. This project has started back in October of last year, and I really have nothing to show for it but the clearing that I made, digging up the trees, and the nice little stone pad that I have down right now. But that's where that project is, and I'll keep you apprised on what's happening. In the meantime, I got some other projects to take care of, so I hope you continue watching. I hope you enjoy these videos and subscribe, and keep an eye on us. Thanks. Take care, everybody.